Baking box brownies. Which fat better replaces vegetable oil? By Brianna Weinreb and Kaitlyn Oliveira. So for our experiment, we wanted to test to see which of three fats would better replace vegetable oil in a box brownie mix. The box brownie mix we chose was the Betty Crocker Supreme Original Mix. And so basically we're just switching out the fat and keeping the recipe the same. And then our objective is to find which fat between butter, shortening, and olive oil is best to replace vegetable oil in a brownie recipe. So taste and texture would have to be as close as possible to the original. So variables and control. Our independent variable is the type of fat, so the butter, olive oil, and shortening. The dependent is the height of brownie, texture, which is like chewy or fudgy, and the taste, which is going to be tasted by 3 taste testers, and the color. The control is the vegetable oil, or the brownies that were made with the vegetable oil, and then other controls in our experiment will be the temperature of the oven, the recipe, time in the oven, the taste testers. All the ingredients are going to come from the same container, time that it's beaten, type of container it's baked in, glass versus metal, and we chose metal. Our materials. So our materials for our recipe, which are really our ingredients, is for every trial, it's going to be 1 box of Supreme Original Brownie Mix with the chocolate sauce that comes in it, and then 1 egg per batch, 1/3 cup of the oil, or the vegetable oil or the fat, and then 3 tablespoons of water. And then we have our kitchen tools, which are things we needed to bake the brownies. So the timer, measuring cups / spoons, bowls, mixing spoons, baking pan, which we use metal, pan spray for the pan, and then measuring utensils like a ruler in the end to measure the height of the brownie. So our procedure, first we preheated the oven to 350 degrees, which is what the box recipe suggested if you were going to use shiny metal to bake your brownies. And then we mix the brownie mixture with the eggs, chocolate sauce, water, and vegetable oil or other fat, depending on which batch we were on. And we mixed it for about 3 minutes. We pan spray the metal tin, and we spread the brownies evenly, and this was important because if you didn't spread them evenly, it could affect how they were measured later on at the end after they were baked. Then we placed them in the oven, and we baked them for 33 to 38 minutes, or until a fork came out clean, and then we removed them from the oven and let them cool. After we let them cool, we gathered our data. So we sliced a piece and we measured the height. The piece was from the middle, and then we compared our color to the original. We had 3 taste testers comment on texture, so it was fudgy, chewy, rich, moist, etc., and how similar it was to the control, and they rated it from 1 to 5, how similar it was to the control. We recorded the data in the table and then repeated for every independent variable that we had. So this is the data for the vegetable oil batch. We had 3 trials, so we made 3 box brownie recipes using the vegetable oil. They were all the same height, 1 centimeter, and then every single batch was medium brown outside and a dark brown on the inside. The first taste tester said all the batches tasted chewy. The second said they all tasted fudgy. The third also said they all tasted fudgy. Then these are some pictures for the vegetable oil batch. That's Brianna. And then data for the olive oil batch. So again, we also did 3 trials. For the height, they were all 1 centimeter. And for the color, they were medium brown on the outside and dark brown on the inside for all of them. And then the first taste tester said all the batches and trials were fudgy. The second taste tester said all the trials were fudgy. And the third taste tester said the first one was moist, and then the other 2 trials were fudgy. And then overall similarity to control batch in taste and texture was a 2. They didn't taste very good. so it wasn't very similar to the original. And these are pictures for our olive oil batch. Again, that's Brianna. And then for our shortening batch, so the batch that we did with shortening, again, we had 3 trials. We did for every single one. And then the height was 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeter, and 1.3 centimeters. So it wasn't a very, very big difference. It was just a little bit of a difference in height. The color was lighter brown on top and a dark brown on the inside for all 3 batches. The first taste tester said they were chewy. The second said they were chewy. The third said they were chewy. In fact, they were very, very chewy, like way too chewy for a brownie. And overall similarity control batch and taste was 3. So we just had a weird texture. And these are some of our pictures for our shortening. I chose not to melt the shortening and I just used it. I just had to mix very well. Data for our butter batches. 3 trials. The heights were all 1 centimeter, except for the last trial was 1.5 centimeters, which again, it's not a very big difference. They were all dark brown on top and even darker brown on the inside. And then the first taste tester said they were chewy and fudgy, all of them. And then the second taste tester said they were fudgy. And the third taste tester said they were fudgy and rich. And then overall similarity control batch in texture and taste was a 4, with 5 being the most. And these are our pictures for the butter. And I did choose to melt the butter. So, in conclusion, from looking at our experiment and our results, we found that butter would be overwhelmingly the best fat to replace vegetable oil in a box brownie recipe. The texture and the taste were just the most similar. The brownies that were made with shortening were just way too chewy, and the olive oil ones just had a weird taste, like an olive oil taste. The height of all the brownies were the same, around the same, so it didn't really matter which fat it was for height. And it did not make a big difference for that. And the biggest differences we found were definitely in taste and texture. And so this was the picture of the 3 batches with olive oil and 3 batches with vegetable oil. And this is the picture of the 3 batches with shortening and 3 batches with butter. And again, overall, there wasn't a big visual difference when you looked at these brownies. They kind of all looked the same. There was only a slight change in color, which you can notice in person, but in the camera, you can't even see it. Again, it all came down to the taste and texture depending on the fat. Thank you.